It's taken from 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 17 through 19. Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. In this way, they will lay up a treasure for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life.
Well, good morning. It is so good to see each and every one of you. I hope you had a wonderful week last week. I hope you had a good time with family, a good weekend. I hope your spirits are full, your hearts are full, your bellies are full, but you didn't gain a pound. I hope that is the case. You've got 3 weeks to work it off until Christmas. I know many of us had fun yesterday. It was a good weekend. We have a contingent here that I should say, go Buckeyes to. Some of y'all don't know this, but I was really rooting for Mississippi State yesterday. Randy Wilson can attest to this. I've rang the cowbell before, believe it or not. It's a workout, and I really was as disappointed, maybe not as much as he, but I was disappointed yesterday. LSU, we got a couple of LSU fans in here, and for those of us who are interested in Alabama athletics, state of Alabama athletics, well, it's a shame that our Blazers dropped 2 at the Emerald Coast Classic this weekend. Maybe by 2017 we'll get a football team and we can get interested in football again, but until then, well, that's just too bad. We began a new series last week entitled How to Be Rich. There's some things we're not going to talk about. We began a new series last week entitled How to Be Rich. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 17 through 19. We talked about the fact that we live in a world that tries to talk so much about how to get rich, has so many ideas about how to get rich, but hardly any ideas on how to be rich. Once you get rich, so many people be rich poorly. You know, so many rich people who are arrogant or who are stingy or who are just wasting their riches. And we don't want to be rich poorly. I want everybody in this room to get rich, but I want us to be rich in the right way, to be rich in a godly way. And so we're going to the Scriptures for 3 weeks. We want to learn how to be rich in a good way. And we talked about how part of the problem is that whole getting rich thing in and of itself. We don't really know when that happens. We know so many people, and I think so many of us fall into the same trap where we get rich somewhere along the way. We cross that line from not rich into rich, but we never know that it happened. And so we're rich people trying to get rich still, but not knowing that we need to learn how to be rich because we're already rich. And I think that what we're starting to see that maybe that's the case for some of us. We talked about some statistics last week. Is $37,000 a year annual household income, is that rich? Well, we talked about the fact that the overwhelming majority of the world would say yes. You're in the top 4% of the world. 96% of the people taking in air right now are living off of less than you. And yet we talked about the fact that $37,000 a year, that doesn't really feel rich. And we had one of those aha moments. It's not the dollar figure. It's not the dollar figure that really makes me feel rich or not feel rich. It's what I do with the money. And so we want to learn how to feel rich, how to really be rich, and God is going to help us with that. He's going to help His rich people. That's how I want us to stay viewing this text, that this is help from God. For any of us who fall into that rich category, God really wants to reach out and say, I want to help you to be rich. And be rich in a good manner. And so we're going to go back to the text. We were kind of in the middle of a thought last week, and when we ended, I want to kind of go back there, pick it back up, and keep going forward with it. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 17, as for the rich in this present age, charge them not to be haughty. We talked about that. Nor to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches. We started talking about that. But on God, who richly provides us with everything to enjoy. We talked about Proverbs 18:11 and how the rich imagine their cash to be their security, how it's this fortress, it's this high wall that cannot be scaled, and nobody's going to get me behind my cash. My money is going to protect me. It's my security. But remember how Solomon ended that verse. It's in their imagination. You're just imagining it to be a secure place because it's not really. Ecclesiastes 5:10, he came back and he told us, for those who trust in money, they will never have money enough. He said, the faster I saw it coming into my bank account, the faster I saw it going out of my bank account. When riches increase, they increase who eat them. That means whenever I got more, I saw more handouts going out. And Solomon said it's really just imagination. There's no such thing as security in riches. And as a matter of fact, Paul tells Timothy here, it's the riches that are uncertain. How are you going to go to something that is uncertain to help you navigate your uncertainties? You're just in double trouble there. And so we want to trust in that which is certain, and that's God. And we see this tug of war being played out. My riches say, trust in me, trust in me. And God is over here saying, no, trust in me, trust in me. And there's this tug of war going on. It's my heart on the line. Our heart is in the midst of this tug of war as riches are competing for our heart. And it has been said, and I truly believe this is the case, it has been said that the number one competitor for the heart of the Christian is money. It's not the devil. You didn't have a problem this week thinking, am I going to trust God or am I going to trust the devil? I tried trusting God last week, and maybe I should trust the devil this week. We don't think that way. Now, I think Satan he's involved in the process, but he's not over there saying, trust in me, trust in me. Don't trust in God. He's over there saying things like, trust your money. Your money can take care of you. God can't take care of you like your money can. And Jesus said, a man can't serve two masters. And he could have finished that thought in any kind of 1,000,000 ways. You can't serve two masters. You can't serve God and Satan. You can't serve two masters. You can't serve God and your physical appearance. You can't serve two masters. You can't serve God and your athleticism, God and your sexuality, God and your entertainment, God and your job. He could have gone on and on and on. Jesus could have said anything. But what did he say? No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. Jesus knows. Jesus knows about this tug of war that we're talking about. He knows that our wealth has a tendency to creep up and compete for our heart. Our heart belongs to God, and yet our wealth keeps on coming up and saying, no, you can trust in me. Just lean in me. I'll take care of you. And we have to remind ourselves over and over again, I will trust God. I will not trust my riches. I will not trust my 401k. I will not trust my insurance provider. I will not trust things and stuff that I got from God. Why would I trust the things that God gave me when I can just trust God directly? I'm not going to trust the gifts. I'm going to trust the giver. And here's the thing, riches are uncertain. Riches are uncertain. They can't take care of us. If you don't believe me, ask the woman. Ask the woman who has had everything provided for her. She's got a full bank account, and yet her husband comes home one day and he says, I've fallen in love with somebody else. And it doesn't matter how good that divorce lawyer is, she can never get her life back. The riches can't take care of that. Ask the relatively young grandfather of 60 years old who he wasn't feeling too well, and he goes into the hospital just not feeling quite right, only to learn that he didn't catch his cancer in time. Riches aren't going to take care of that. Ask the couple who has everything that money can provide, and yet they receive the call late one night, we're so sorry your child has been involved in an accident, and he's not coming home tonight. Where are riches then? See, the storms of life have a way of reminding us in this one thing that we know to be true, that only security can be found in God and God alone. You cannot finance a marriage. You cannot take out a loan on a child's life. You can't trust in riches because they are uncertain. The only thing you can do in a time like that is hit your knees and go to God, the only deserving object of your trust. And so charge them not to set their hope on the uncertainty of riches, but on God, who richly provides us everything to enjoy. And did you catch that? Everything to enjoy. Well, we're going to be reminded here again that we don't need to be feeling guilty about our riches. God says it's okay. Go enjoy them. I have blessed you with these things to enjoy. We're not going to feel guilt over them. We're going to feel gratitude, and we're going to act differently, but we're not going to hope in them. We're going to enjoy them, but we're not going to hope in them. I want to offer just 3 questions because I don't want to trust in my riches. I want to trust in God, but sometimes it can be hard to know. Well, am I trusting in my riches? I don't know how to gauge that. I've grown up in a culture that doesn't help me to see this issue clearly. How can I test myself, so to speak? And so I want to give you 3 questions. They're not from me to you. They're for you to use on you later on and to answer for yourself. Am I trusting in my riches? I want to offer 3 questions. Question number one, do you have money in the bank but no peace in your heart? Do you have money in the bank but no peace in your heart? You can squeeze a lot of things out of a dollar bill. A dollar bill can give you some fun. It can give you some memories. It can give you some stuff. You can use a dollar bill to go down to Disney or to the mountains or to the beach. And money can provide some fun stuff, but there's one thing money can never provide. You can't squeeze an ounce of peace out of a dollar bill. And I like the positive example of this a little bit better than the negative. Some of you have been down to places like the country of Belize, or you've seen pictures that those have brought back who have been to Belize, and you see people there who live in a house that's about the same size as your bedroom, and they have nothing, and yet what? They have the most peaceful, the most joyful attitude that you will ever see, and it doesn't hardly make sense. How do they have such joy and such peace, and yet they don't have nothing? And what you come to find out is because they have no wealth, they don't put their trust in wealth, and their wealth does not compete for their heart in such a way that ours rises up and competes for our heart. And so they have peace. It's really an amazing thing. But you know the converse to be true also. You know some people who have so much wealth, and yet they have so much worry. They have no peace because of their wealth. And so I think this is a good question for us to ask ourselves. Do I have money in the bank but no peace in my heart? That might be an indication that I'm leaning in the wrong way, that I'm leaning into my money to try to find peace. Question number 2, does fear of not having enough hinder your willingness to give generously? Have you ever heard of a good work or a good opportunity to help out, and you reach for the check, but then the what-ifs start hitting your mind? What if I have a need that arises, and I can't take care of that need because I've given this money away? Oh, what should I be putting more into the children's college fund? And what if I don't have enough for them on down the road, and I shouldn't really be giving this away? If fear starts to play a role in your decision-making process over giving, it might be an indication that I'm trusting my riches to take care of me. And why would if I'm trusting in God, why would I have fear over what I give to God? Fear over what I give in God's name. And that this has been statistically proven out, and it's very unfortunate, that the higher income goes in this country. They've done studies. You can see the charts. The higher income goes in this country, percentage-wise, the lower charitable giving goes. This is not just a religious study. This is across the board in this country. As income rises, percentage of income giving drops, such that the highest percentage of income givers in this country, this is true, are actually those in the lowest income brackets. And that's what's happening right here. Well, the more income we get, the more prone we are to start trusting in that income, and the more fearful we become of giving that income away. This is an indicator, maybe I'm trusting my riches a little bit too much if I start to use fear as a reason why I can't give so generously as maybe I want to. Question number 3, how hard is it for you to do the right thing when it's going to cost you financially? How hard is it for me to do the right thing when it's going to cost me financially? Many of you know this. I was an accountant by trade until a couple of years back. I was at the UAB School of Business from 2001 to 2007 learning debits and credits. That was a very interesting time to be in business school, starting in 2001 there. Many of you may be able to recall the name Enron. Enron had a massive corporate fraud that was uncovered in 2001. So massive that we have laws on the books of our land now because of that fraud. That was 2001. 2002, you have fraud at WorldCom. 2003, Birmingham, Alabama gets put on the map. Richard Scrushy and Health South, another huge corporate fraud. And we were studying about all these things in business school. But you know, money can make us make some bad moral decisions, but it doesn't have to be on that kind of a level. It doesn't have to be these huge corporate frauds. It doesn't have to happen in the corporate jets or in the boardrooms. It can be just as hard for us to make good moral decisions because of money. How easy it is to look at the tax return and think, well, maybe I could save another 20, 50, maybe even $100 if I just fudged this deduction or kind of over-counted this or that. How easy it is to say, no, pay me this under the table. I don't want to have to report this on my tax return. How easy it is to steal that cable or to steal that internet music. Or to steal gas. I worked at Allegasco, and you'd be amazed at how smart some people are at figuring out ways to steal even natural gas, running lines under the ground, and all of this. It's amazing how smart people can be doing dumb things. And yet, we have this problem. It's not just a big corporate problem. How hard is it for me to do the right thing when it's going to cost me financially? If it's hard, then that might be an indication that I'm trusting in the wrong thing. I want to trust in God. I don't want to trust in the uncertainty of riches. I want to trust in God. And so I want to bring back something from last week. We're going to talk in church again. I want you to repeat after me. We're going to say the same thing we said last week, but I want to add something to it on the basis of what we just learned out of this scripture. It's in your bulletin. It's not a fill in the blank, so you can read it there if you're looking for it. But I want to say this. You say it after me, and then we'll continue on with the lesson. God has blessed me with more than I need. I am rich, but I will not trust in riches, but in Him who richly provides. God has blessed us so richly, and yet we're not going to trust in riches here. That's not where our hope lies. Our hope lies in Him who richly provides, not the riches that He provides. Let's go forward. Paul has gotten our hearts right with verse 17. He's kind of setting the stage. He hasn't told us what to do yet. He's just told us how to feel and how to think about riches. And now he's going to plunge in verse 18. What do we do as rich people? 1 Timothy 6 and verse 18. They are to do good. Now stop right there. They are to do good. I want us to remember where we are as we read this verse right here. Remember where we are in the text. Paul says this is a text specifically for rich people. This is not be good, just like you would generally tell all Christians you need to be good. Go be good this week. Don't cuss, say the right things, help people, so forth and so on. Be good people. No, this is a passage for rich people. In light of the fact that you are rich, I want you to do some good with those riches. That you might say this isn't average person good. This is rich person good. I want you to be good in only the way that a rich person can be good because you are rich. And in case you kind of missed that, he clarifies it. They are to do good, to be rich in good works. Now, we're going to talk about money here in a second, but right here he's talking about works. What do richness and works, money and action have to do with each other? And I think what Paul is keying in on here is that normally those of us who are rich have more time than those of us who are not. We have a little bit extra time. And you may be thinking right now, well, Jordan, that's crazy. I've just got to the point where I'm ready to admit maybe I am rich, but I know I don't have more time. I know I don't have extra time. But let's think about this for a second. So many of us, and I want to say that, clarifying that I know not all of us, but so many of us have the luxury of eating for 7 days a week, even though we only work for maybe 40, 50 hours a week. I know that's not the case for all of us. I know somebody's here saying, I work 80 hours a week. But so many of us get to eat for 7 days. That's not the way it is in most of the world. I just want you to know. But beyond that, so many of us get paid time off. Our company looks at us and says, I don't want you to be here, but I'm going to give you money anyways. And they do that maybe 5 days out of the year, maybe 10 days out of the year. We call them holidays. And then on top of that, they give us paid time off called vacation time, maybe 10 days out of the year, maybe 20 days out of the year. I know some people have worked up past 40 days out of the year, a month, that they don't have to be there on the clock, but they get money anyways. And again, just like the money, rich people tend to have more discretionary time, but interestingly, rich people statistically spend less time helping others who have precious little discretionary time. And I think what it boils down to is we just have so many options of what to do with our time. We have so many options. Well, you want to go out to eat tonight? Yeah, we can go out to eat tonight. You want to go see a movie tonight? We could do that. You want to go see the football game this weekend? Yeah, we could do that. We have so many options of what to do with our discretionary time. And when we see free time coming, there's this natural tendency, how can I spend that free time on me? How can we spend that free time on us? But Paul comes along. Paul comes along here, and he wants to reason with us. Look. You have 5, 10 holidays that you don't have to work this year. You have 10, 15, 20 vacation days that you don't have to work. You have all this extra time, but the lady that served you your lunch today, she's working 60 hours a week, working her fingers to the bone just to put food on the table, clothes on her kid's back, and they just told her that maybe one of them needs braces. And look, you have so much time that you get to use on you. Why not just carve out a little bit? Just carve out some for others. Be rich in good works. And if you've done this, you can attest to this. You can testify that this is true. You might go out and spend $50 and see a movie, and you might walk away thinking that was a great movie, but you might walk away thinking, that wasn't that great. Or you might spend $50 on a meal, go out to a restaurant, and you might walk away thinking that was a pretty good meal. You might walk away thinking, I've had better. We're not going back there again. You might spend $100, $150 going and seeing a football game, and you might lose. You might go take your family out to the mountains or to the beach, and it might rain. But if you spend half a day serving others, if you go on a short-term mission trip, if you spend 1 hour at the nursing home or at the children's home, you never walk away thinking, man, I wasted my time there, and it wasn't so great. That's never how it works out. You might come away mentally drained. You might come away physically drained, but you are so spiritually filled that you tell the story 100 times over and over and over again. And catch this, you feel rich, don't you? Oh, there we're getting to it. He's teaching us how to be rich here. Go be rich in good works, and you will actually feel rich because of it. I'm teaching you how to be rich, God tells us. The next block of free time you have, Paul would encourage you to go do some good works with that free time. But it's not just about time. 1 Timothy 6 and verse 18, reading on, they're to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and ready to share. Now, I want you all to acknowledge, I do not control the Scriptures. We just read them and they say what they say. God finally has gotten to our wallets. He's going to talk about our wallets now. He's going to talk about our money now. Not Jordan. Jordan didn't say this. This is God saying this. Be generous, ready to share. Well, I already share. Well, no. Remember, he's talking about not average person sharing, rich person sharing. Because you are rich, hey, rich people, I want you to share in a rich way. And the same thing that we said about time could also be said about money. We have so many options on how to use our money. We have so many things we could go and spend it on us. And, again, back to the statistics, the more a person makes in this country, the less they are to give. The less they normally give percentage-wise, the more we think about our own needs and our own wants. Rich people spend so much time meditating on how to afford more. If I just tweak the budget a little bit, move things around, maybe I could afford a little bit more car. Maybe I could afford just a little bit more wardrobe. If I kind of did this, maybe worked a couple of extra hours, maybe I could afford more house in a better neighborhood. But we never spend that much time, that much energy meditating on how we might give more. I'm giving 10% right now, but maybe if I just worked a couple more hours, maybe if we switch things around in the budget a little bit, I could give 11%, just a little bit more. That's not a very common rich person conversation. We focus so much on how to afford more, not so much on how to give more. And God says, listen, I want to help you. I want you to be rich. I want to help you, rich people, to truly be rich. And I want you, Paul, to tell them to be generous and to share. And that's how you be rich. Now, I know this is so hard because we get busy, don't we? We get busy, our budgets, they get cramped. And what that means is we can't do this last minute. This is not something that we're going to be able to just do right at the moment we decide that we're going to do it. You don't upgrade your car without some planning. You don't upgrade your house without some planning. You're not going to be able to give richly and generously without some planning. You've got to plan. You've got to pre-decide to be generous. And, if you don't pre-decide, if you don't plan ahead, you know what you end up giving? We all have seen this past week. We're very familiar with the concept of leftovers. If we don't pre-decide, if we don't plan what we're going to give ahead of time, what we end up giving is leftovers. Now, in the world of food leftovers, we don't give leftovers to our guests of honor. I'm not going to set a table and have people over. Come over, I'm going to feed you. We'll have a nice meal, and you sit down, and I open up the refrigerator and say, okay, let's see what we're going to have. Y'all want some corn? We got some hot dogs if you like them really black. Don't know what that is, but you can have it if you want it. We don't feed leftovers to our guests of honor. That's not the way you give generously. That's not the way you honor someone. And so when it comes to our giving, well, we need to pre-decide. We need to plan ahead so that we don't end up giving leftovers. We need to decide long before the actual gift is given. And this is just a great opportune time to say right now is a wonderful time to think about what our giving is going to look like in 2016. We're thinking about our vacation calendars for next year right now. We know about what our income is going to be next year right now. And now is a great time to pre-decide what our giving and our generosity and our sharing is going to look like, how we're going to be rich next year. And I think the most important part of all of this is really just this three-letter word. This three-letter word, now. I need to do it now. This is the kind of decision that has a tendency to slip through the cracks. And if I don't do it right now, if I don't think about this right now, I'll just forget about it. And it'll keep on getting pushed forward indeterminately. And so let's now decide how we're going to be rich. What concrete decisions, not just, I'm going to be richer next year. I'm going to do this next year, but not really put a decision to it. What concrete decisions am I going to make to be rich next year? Let's not fall into the trap of leftover giving. What I would recommend as far as our financial giving goes is steady percentage giving. Steady percentage giving. That's what the Apostle Paul talks about to the Corinthians in 1 Corinthians chapter 16 and verse 2. This is steady percentage giving, what he's talking about. If I make this much this week, if I prosper this much this week, I'll give this percentage of it. If I prosper a different amount this week, well, I'll give the same percentage of that. Paul says, I want you to give as you may prosper. Set it aside as you may prosper, that there's no collecting when I come. The way finances worked in Paul's day, he would come around periodically, or a messenger of his would come around periodically, and he would take up what had been collected over a period of time. And he said, I don't want to show up and you all of a sudden be trying to grab up some money real quick. I want you to have planned ahead of time and set it back as you prospered throughout the year, so that when I come, we're not going to be taking up these last-minute collections. There's no percentage listed in the New Testament. We've heard that said so many times. That is the truth. It's not a 10% thing as it was in the Old Testament. So we get to see just how rich we can be. Let's get creative. How rich can I be this year? There's no limit. There's no set percentage in the New Testament. Maybe 10% is a good place to start. Maybe I've been giving 10% since I was 5, 6 years old, and it's time to bump it up a little bit. There's no set percentage in the New Testament, but here's what we want to be. We want to be rich. We want to be generous and ready to share. I want to add one more thing to our statement, and then the lesson will be yours. One more thing. I'm going to say, excuse me, I want us to add this one little part. We're getting long here. I want us to do this one little part a couple of times, and then we'll say the whole thing all together. All right, ready? Because I'm richly blessed, I will bless richly. Let's try that one more time. Because I'm richly blessed, I will bless richly. Okay, we're getting long here, but here we go, the whole thing. God has blessed me with more than I need. I am rich. But I will not trust in riches, but in Him who richly provides. Because I'm richly blessed, I will bless richly. God has blessed us richly. He has, I'm sorry. That was me. That was just me. But that's good. That's good. God has blessed us richly. But of course, I would be remiss if I didn't point out the fact that before the first dollar hits our bank account, God has blessed us richly We're talking about money a lot these couple of weeks, but it's not all about money, is it? God is so good to us. And I think this time of year, it's such a wonderful thing that we get to see that. We get to meditate on that. We make the choice to meditate on that a little bit more. Our family. There's just the way that God guides us all throughout the year. These are rich, rich blessings, irregardless of any money that might change hands. Matthew chapter 16 and verse 26, Jesus said, "For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul?" You know what Jesus is saying right there? Jesus is saying every bit of riches that you could possibly conceive of in this world still falls short of the value of your soul. The soul that God has given to each and every one of us, He's blessed each and every one of us with more riches than this world can contain. And so before we think about our money, before we think about our riches, our wealth, let's think about the wealth of our soul. And if you've not attended to that this morning, if your soul is in jeopardy, if the eternal home of your soul is in question this morning, let's see to that need right now. This is not in my notes. I just saw this a few minutes ago. It's really just precious that sometimes we do a ministry and we don't even know that we're doing it. Somebody gave my son some stickers. I don't know if that was his Sunday school teacher this morning or somebody else, but I looked over and it was during the Lord's Supper, and he had smacked one on Priscilla's hand, and it said, "God's love never fails." Isn't that beautiful? To think of those two things in conjunction, that Jesus went to the cross in the darkest hour of humanity, when God's back was up against the wall. God's love did not fail. He went to the cross for you and for I. And as I was dealing with that deep theology off the back of a sticker, he reached over and he smacked one on my hand too. His love endures forever. Because of what God did 2,000 years ago in the person of Jesus Christ on that cruel cross, I can have an eternal home for forever. His love never fails, and His love endures forever. And if this morning you've not come to Him and humbled yourself before Him, admitting what you know to be true, you know it to be true that you cannot do what is necessary to save yourself. We know that, but He can, and He did. And if you've not yet submitted to Him, come to Him in faith. I want to encourage you to do that this morning. Come to Him in faith. Turn over your life. So I'm not doing it my way anymore. I'm going to do it your way because I know that you're the only one that can lead me to an eternal home with you. That's called repentance. When I stop doing it my way and I start doing it His way. Confess Him for who He is. You are the Son of God, Jesus Christ. Be baptized into His blood, the only blood that can wash away your sins. If that's your need this morning, please come. If you have any sin, anything standing between you and your God that you need to get out of the way this morning, please come while we